everybody. Um, well, as a colleague there just said, this is Roz, I'm Jane, and we're doing a double act for you today. And it's going to be about how you can take control, you make the decisions, you decide what you're going to do in the future. And there's lots of people here today who can help you. And what you've got on your seats are some cards. You'll need a card to take part with this today. One side says T. You need to hold it our way at the point where you agree with what we've said, or you think it applies to you, or you think it's true. The T for true, you know, it gives it away. And then the other side of the card is F, obviously for false. If this doesn't apply to you, what we say next, then you hold up the F. Okay? And we can then see what you're interested in, what sorts of directions. And then when you've got some questions at the end, we can direct you perhaps to some of the great things that are going on here at the Skills Show that will help you make your decisions. So we're going to say it's your future, so it's yours, not anybody else's. You can take control of it. So what are you going to do to take control of it? So let's see what we think first. Do you think this is true or false for you? I know what I'm going to do and what I want to do when I finish school or college. Let's see those T's and F's handed up. We've got more people who don't know and don't know what they want to do. Okay, that's great.
Okay, as Jane says, great if you do, but don't worry if you don't. One of the most important things about making your choices about what you do in your future is to keep your options open. Don't narrow things down too soon. So keep your options open. And obviously the fact that you're here at the Skills Show is absolutely fantastic because there's so many things for you to look at here to inspire you, to get information about. So one of the first things that we need to say is don't worry if you don't know what you're going to do. Okay. The second question.
So the next one is, it's important to do what my parents or carers think I should do. So if you think that's true, show us the T. If you think it's false, show us the false. Aha. Well, we're all on song with that one. So do you want to just explain a bit?
That's really good. Obviously, most of your parents or carers will have your best interests at heart. But sometimes parents and carers may be a little bit out of date about what's happening with the world of work, with the labour market, and some of the qualifications that might be available. So yes, really important to talk to your parents and carers about your future, about what you're going to be doing when you finish school or college, but the decision is yours. So always remember that that final decision is yours.
So, okay. And then our next question. How many of you think this is true or false for you? I'm likely to have several different jobs by the time I'm 40. And speaking from my own experience, it's very true, but let's see if it's true for you. There's somebody over there who really knows what they want to do, because I can tell you've held up the F, but everybody else, a lot of other people, but you clearly know what you want to do as well, don't you? And you're hoping it's going to last all that time. Well, by the time I was 40, I had been a post-deliverer, postie, best job ever. I had been a waitress. I had worked in a shop or two. I had worked in a workers' co-op running a shop. I had worked as a teacher in a secondary school. I'd worked as a teacher in adult education. I'd also worked in a university, and I'd worked in community learning, doing work with community groups, all by the time I was 40. Lots of jobs. And that was back then, when things were really different. So what about you?
Yeah, certainly the labour market, as I said in the answer to the first one, is always changing. And the expectation is that people who are currently in school are likely to have several different jobs. We used to talk about people having a vocation, people actually having a job for life, and they didn't have to change. And a lot of people who are maybe in their sort of 40s and 50s have stayed in that job for a very long time. But now, people coming into the labour market have got to have the skills to be much more flexible. They've got to be able to think about how they manage their career, because it is very likely that you won't be in the same job for 20, 30 or 40 years. So by the time you're 40, for those of you who are the younger ones in the audience, then it is likely that you will have several different jobs. Okay.
Okay, what's next? Okay, who thinks it's important to keep your options open? Hold up those trues or falses for us. Straight over to you, Roz.
Yeah, I think I've already given you the answer to that one, haven't I, right at the beginning? Yes, it is really important to keep your options open. That's not to say that if you have got a good idea about what you want to do, and you've obviously got a path, you know what you need to do in terms of qualifications, courses, where you're actually going to be going in the future. But still, sometimes things don't always work out as you expect them to. So it may be useful to have a plan B. So if you have your first choices and then have plan B as your backup, just in case things don't work out the way that you really want them to.
What about plans C, D, E, and F, Roz, though?
So
it is, those as well.
it is about not narrowing things down, but it's also about being flexible as well, so that you can kind of move with the punches, really. If things don't work out, that you can change your plans, because obviously you need to have that flexibility when you're actually going through your career. Okay?
So the next one, have you got your cards ready? I know about all the options which are available to me, including things about apprenticeships, traineeships, and all your other options. Who knows about all those things? Let's see some trues and falses on those. Ooh, well, okay. I'm really glad you're here at the skills show.
Absolutely. I think it's very important that a lot of schools and colleges, they know a lot about that progression route through the academic route, through to university. But there's so many different ways into jobs these days. You don't have to go to university to get a higher level qualification. It's very important to find out about those different options. And you can even do apprenticeships in things that maybe 10 or 15 years ago you couldn't do an apprenticeship in. So if you wanted to go through the legal profession, if you wanted to go into accountancy, you don't have to go to university for those things. You can go on to do an intermediate apprenticeship or an advanced apprenticeship, and there are also a lot of higher apprenticeships now as well that can take you forward, and they can actually help you to develop those vocational skills. And obviously one of the other advantages of doing it that route is that maybe you don't have the worry about student debt about when you actually go to university. I think it's really important that it's about finding out as much information about all of those different options. Yes, university might be right for you, but it isn't right for everybody. So keep those options open again. Find out as much information as you can about the different routes into lots of different jobs. Okay.
The best person to help me make career decisions is my tutor. Let's see those true and false cards. What, do you agree with that one or not? Oh, you don't. Okay.
Okay.
Well, why is that then?
Well, that's a useful response that I'm very pleased about. I think the tutors that you have in schools and colleges, they probably know you really, really well. And they obviously, again, want the best for you. But when it comes to choosing careers, maybe your tutor isn't the most well-informed person about all of the different range of options that there are available. Obviously, one way of finding out about different careers is to talk to as many employers as possible, to get those different insights into careers. So the employers out there, and again, coming to the skills show, you've got lots of employers here on the doorstep, to ask those key questions, to find out about how that information that they're actually providing, how it applies to you. I think it's also really important to be able to kind of critically evaluate all of that information. There is so much information out there. Some of it will be relevant for you, but some of it won't. Make sure that information is up to date, it's accurate, apply it to yourself, and make sure that, again, you're taking advice and professional advice from the people who know and have the skills and knowledge and training to be able to do that. So in schools these days, things have changed a little bit in terms of the fact that schools now have a responsibility to provide you with impartial and independent careers guidance. So it's really important to make sure you seek out those people who can actually give that independent, impartial careers guidance for you, and don't rely solely on the people, your tutors and your teachers in school. They have a role to play, but actually make sure you get the advice from the professionals.
Okay, and just to follow that, you know, if you're in college and you haven't yet been to see your guidance staff, do go. They've got a really good set of options there for you to look at. Okay, and our next one, have you got your cards ready? I can always change direction if things don't work out with my exams. Now this is a real, you know, things can go much better in exams than you thought. Things can go much worse than expected. So we've got lots of T's showing to us.
That's great. Again, I think we're kind of covering some of the same ground in terms of making sure that you keep your options open. You do have plan B. And whether or not that's just something that happens by the time you're 16, 18, 21, it obviously is really important that you can change direction at any time, really. You can always learn something new, change direction to a totally different area of work that you hadn't even considered when you were 16. So again, it's coming back to exactly those themes that I'm trying to link through all the different questions. It's about having the skills that you need to manage your own future, so that you're actually taking control and you're making those plans and having that flexibility to be able to pursue whichever way the road takes you. Because most people don't actually have a clear, straight path in their careers. It's what we would say is a bit more of a crazy paving, and you have to navigate your way through all those different ways of doing things and make sure you don't step on too many cracks along the way.
It's never too late to make a change. We do a lot of work in our organisation with much older adults who are also making big changes. So let's look. Who thinks it's important to know what you're good at? Oh, we've got a range of opinions on this one. Some people think it's true, some people think it's not. Is that because you're not very good at knowing what you're good at yourself yet? Let's see what you think.
Okay. I think the first thing that most people need to do when they're thinking about their career is to know about themselves, to know what their strengths are, to know what their weaknesses are, to have that self-awareness. And hopefully in school you will be doing things that will help you to develop those skills. So I think it's very important that you actually know about your strengths, know about the sorts of things that interest you, to be able to pursue the areas of work that actually match those things. So that if you're actually wanting to work with people, and that's a strength that you have, you're very sociable, you want to get on with people, then that's obviously something that you need to be looking at in terms of your job. The same way with any kind of practical skills. Do you prefer to learn in a practical way rather than in an academic way? Before you make those choices, you need to have that self-awareness to be able to do that. And one way of doing that isn't just to actually think about it yourself, but it's to get feedback from your friends, from your family, from your teachers, your tutors, anything that can help you to form a better picture of yourself and where you might be able to go in the future.
Okay. And on to the next one. Okay, get those cards ready. True or false? I don't want to go to university. Doesn't matter if you've already been. You can still plan. Tell me whether you plan or not to. Okay, lots of you here do want to go to university, but some of you don't. Let's have a think about what that means.
Okay. University isn't for everyone. Again, talking about what we've already mentioned, it's very important to look at the different routes into different jobs. University is for some people. Some people would prefer that way of learning, that style of learning. But I think it's important to think that it isn't for everybody, and to not think of not going to university as a second-rate choice. There are some fantastic apprenticeships, some fantastic opportunities through the apprenticeship route to be able to progress to high-level jobs. I think I can't underestimate that. I need to keep saying it. It's really important to remember that there are lots of different routes to different jobs. You can even do an apprenticeship that could lead to a degree. So yes, you don't have to go to university for a 3-year full-time degree course. There could be other ways of doing a degree course rather than just going to university, whether that's through open learning, distance learning, lots of ways of actually progressing to higher level qualifications other than just doing a 3-year degree course. Okay.
we've got one last one, and then we've got some time for discussion. So your last one for saying true or false to is it's important to find out as much as possible about different jobs and the routes to them. Oh, well, we all agree with that, so, you know, that's great.
That's great.
Yes.
That's really good. Again, being well informed is the key to actually helping your future. I think sometimes it's quite easy to think, oh, I'll just look at that area, I'll just concentrate on finding out as much as I can about that. But I think a lot of jobs are losing the skills and potential of so many people because people aren't looking at all the things that are available. I know there used to be a bit of a sort of a joke about people at primary school, they wanted to be a fireman or a train driver. I think the issue is there are so many jobs that certainly have been invented since I was at school. There are jobs that you've probably never even heard of that are actually going to be changing. So again, it's about keeping your options open, finding out as much information as you possibly can about all the different jobs. But also, it's important to remember not to have information overload. I think there is so much bombarding you with loads of information coming from all sorts of places. I think it's really important that you are able to kind of filter out the things that aren't relevant to you, but make sure that you actually get the information about the things that do matter to you. There are so many resources out there, whether they are online resources, there's information, there's the National Career Service website, there's the National Career Service phone line. So there are things out there to help you, as well as the face-to-face information, advice and guidance you might be getting in schools. So it's about making sure that you match the sort of person you are to all that range of opportunities out there. Make sure you're making the right decisions and making sure that you have a plan for how you're going to navigate your future. So it's up to you to take control because it is your future and nobody else is going to do it for you. Has anyone? Go on.
And we're from the National Institute of Adult Continuing Education, so we would say this, wouldn't we? But of course, you can keep learning throughout your life. You never have to just call it a day. So keep learning new things, keep discovering the things that are out there. And that's what we're doing here at the Kids Skills Show, because there's lots of things here. So for those of you that were still a bit uncertain on the answers to some of those questions, then the Careers Advisory Service is here, so the National Career Service. There's stands everywhere. They're wearing pink t-shirts, so you can find them easily. You can also go to all the different stands that are here and get some information, but then you need to go away and think about it all. And good luck with that. And now we can take any questions.
Any questions?
Oh, no.
No?
You have to give people about a couple of minutes. Apparently it takes 17 seconds for the first person to ask a question. And we'll be around. We have got a stand here, so do come and talk to us as well. But if you've got questions, if there's things you want to discuss with us, do come and see us.